Ladies and gentlemen, the time is here. What the show was originally built on, the Couch Scout series. We're doing wide receivers, top 15 for the 2026 NFL Draft. That's Nick. I'm Theo. This is the Drafted Up podcast. While you're at it, like the show, rate the episode, all that good stuff. Subscribe to the channel. Help grow the Drafted Up community. Like I said, we're doing our Couch Scout wide receivers. For those of you that are new, our Couch Scout is we pretty much get going on the prospects here. We're going to do wide receivers today, so on and so forth. Each episode will be a little bit different. Nick, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. Ready to dive into this pretty decent wide receiver group. We talked about it a little bit before, that we didn't really like it after the top couple guys, but it goes pretty deep. I would say there's ballpark like 20 guys that are just, once you get out of like the top 5 or 6, I just think you could really lump any of those guys into the same kind of bucket.
Same tier.
From like 8 to 20, they're all kind of, hey, what kind of receiver do you like as like a team? Like if you like big guys, like slot specific receivers, guys that just have really good safe floors. There's a little bit of everything for the receiver guys in this group. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and from that standpoint, like we're ranking these guys, we're just two dudes, and we don't have a roster, so we're just kind of ranking them where it's like certain teams, like they might have their big receiver, so they're not looking at drafting so they might value one of the slot guys a little higher. So that's where it's going to kind of differ from like real teams and whatnot. Before we jump in, because we're just going to jump right in, I can hear you guys yelling. I'm well aware free agency, the pre-tampering period is going on. I know players have been traded. I know guys have theoretically have signed. If we talk about that, including this episode into it, we're going to be here for 3 hours. I don't want to put you through that. I don't want to put us through that. So Thursday's episode, we are going to be solely focusing on free agency, who signed, who was traded, all that stuff. Plus Thursday, things will be official because Wednesday is the first day of the new league year. So don't worry. We will talk about the Max Crosby, DJ Moore, Kenneth Walker, the quarterback changes, all that stuff. We will talk about that later this week. Don't worry. I'm not ignoring it.
It's there. We'll get there. And yeah, we've seen it multiple times in like different occasions where guys will sign before the new league year, and then come Thursday, oh, hey, this guy signed with a different team because that deal kind of fell through and someone snuck in there and got a better deal. It happened with Milt Williams last season. Exactly. So it's bound to happen. It might not happen, but we're not going to talk about the deals until they are official. So that just makes sense to me.
Yeah. Plus, things will happen during the show, and I don't want to be like, oh, breaking news, this happened. It'll just, it'll be an episode that'll trigger everyone's ADHD, and we're not here for that. So next episode this week, we will be talking about the free agency stuff. Today is solely focused on the 2026 wide receivers for the draft. So here we go. Let's get this going here.
Ooh, wide receivers,
for those watching,
we're trying something new, fun. So let's see.
Yeah, we are indeed trying something new.
Sorry for just you non-visual watchers, just ears. Yeah. You're not going to get the nice experience. So
here we go. Wide receivers, Couch Scout Series 2026 NFL Draft for the Drafted Up podcast. Top 15 wide receivers. Let's give it a go. Starting with my rankings, my 11 through 15. My just outside my top 15. These guys kind of teetered in and out. Skyler Bell from UConn, Eric McAllister from TCU, and Dazon Stribling from Ole Miss. They just missed my cut. Fun players, but they did not make my top 15. At 15, I do have Brennan Thompson, the speedster from from Mississippi State. Sorry. 14, I have Zachariah Branch from Georgia. That'll be interesting. I am much lower than consensus on him. He's pretty highly ranked by the draft community, but we'll get into him. 13, I have Malachi Fields from Notre Dame. At 12, Antonio Williams from Clemson, and at 11, I have Germie Bernard, who I really like. Like
I
my
like Bernard a
12
lot,
through
yeah.
like 20, my 12 through 20, those are guys who pretty much same bucket for me. Germie Bernard would be in the next tier outside of those guys. And then your rankings, 11 through 15, who you got? Who were your three just on the outside?
Just on the outside were Antonio Williams, who you had at 12, I believe, Clemson wide receiver,
Yep.
big body guy. 17, Bryce Lance, Trey Lance's brother from North Dakota State, another big body guy who
I like Bryce Lance a lot.
I like Bryce Lance a lot, bro. He knows how to get that back shoulder down and just really box out a corner. He's a really good red zone threat. And then 18, a guy I know you're not crazy high about. It's Jacoby Lane, USC wide receiver. He's a tricky watch, man. Like if you're just like looking at him and like here and there, okay, it pops. But the more you just like really pay attention to him, it's just not all there. It's very Keon Coleman-esque from 2 seasons ago. I believe Keon Coleman came out. If he pans out, it could be there, but that's why he was in my top 15 for a while, but I really had to just drop him down a couple more spots. But I still have him over a couple guys that I also still think are decently talented. So I just think if he's able to put it together more consistently, Jacoby Lane could be all right. He's one of those typical USC guys, though. He's big body.
Yeah. Jacoby Lane was maybe the most boring tape watch I've done in a long time. He tested great. He tested better than I thought he would, but like,
for sure.
I just don't see the appeal. All right, here we go. Who you got at 15?
Deion Burks, wide receiver, Oklahoma. A guy I don't believe you have in your top 15.
No, we'll get into him.
Yeah, 14, Ted Hurst, Georgia State wide receiver. 13, Chris Brazzell, Tennessee wide receiver, another big body speedster from Tennessee, so we'll definitely get into that guy. 12, Skyler Bell, UConn, and then 11, Elijah Sarratt. Yeah, Elijah Sarratt from Indiana. What's his face? Fernando Mendoza's number 1 guy, though, so we'll see what happens where that guy goes. There's a lot of rumors that him and Fernando Mendoza could still link up in the pros, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that. Hurst,
I would assume you have
Sarratt, I do have.
I was gonna say I would assume you have Brazzell and Sarratt higher than I do. I have them a little bit lower than most people.
Yeah. All right.
I'm very interested to talk about Zachariah Branch, though, the Georgia kid. I cannot wait to get into that guy.
That is our big difference. Obviously, I do have the list because I did make the little project slides here. So normally I go in blind, not knowing who you have, but this year a little different. So I'll start. My wide receiver 15, Brennan Thompson, Mississippi State senior, 5'9", 164 pounds, 0th percentile. He is thin. 22 years old, 9-inch hands, 29 3/8-inch arms, 72 3/8-inch wingspan. Ran a 4.26 40. 100th percentile.
He fast.
Fastest 40 at the combine. 1.48, 40-yard split. Didn't do the vert or the broad jump. He was a transfer from Oklahoma. That's why you see his 2024 stats. Not very productive. 19 for 230, 2 touchdowns. But last year with Mississippi State, over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. Also had a rushing touchdown. So very productive year from him. He was my wide receiver 15. You had him at 21. You see it. I knew he was fast. He was one of the guys when I was watching his tape. I messaged you and Merck, and I'm just like, the guy I'm watching, do not let Andy Reid get his hands on. I think he'd be a great fit for the Andy Reid offense. He could be their Tyreek Hill per se, just their over the top deep stretcher. That's what he does. Like you see the speed on tape. We knew he was fast. So don't count that twice. It was just confirmation that it happened, and you see that he forces safeties, play deep, all that good stuff. Good ball tracker, which is surprising. Usually the smaller guys, they're just kind of getting in their hands and go, but he actually real good job tracking over his shoulder, real effortless there. Really good stutter step off the line. He can make you move. He's tough too, like super scrappy. He attempts to block in the run game, but obviously being 164 pounds, he does kind of get thrown around a lot there, but he puts forth that effort. The frame is obviously a problem, being 5'9", 164 pounds, not ideal. That obviously limits the catch radius, and he while he did make spectacular catches, he did have some routine drops there. But I he's never going to be an alpha, but I love his ability to change the game. I think he's going to be drafted in the top 75, top 100. I think he will be a top 100 pick based off of just, what he does speed-wise and stretching the defense. Think Trey Tucker. I think that's kind of the mold that he's going to kind of be in the NFL. And Trey Tucker had a really nice year for Vegas this past year. So I think that's the role he best fits in the NFL.
Yeah, I think his best scenario is being like a number 3, maybe a high-end 4 on a team that he can just step on the field, really change up the game. His frame is the thing that just really scares the hell out of me, dude. 5'9". That's a fine height. It's a fine height. But
he is an outlier.
The 164, dude, I'm just like, God damn, bro. Like, Devontae Smith was thin, but he still was bigger than 164. That's for damn sure. But he is dynamic, dude. Like, he's fast. He's quick. A lot of the guys in this class are really good at tracking the ball over their shoulder, dude. Like, that's a thing that I've noticed in a lot of guys. The main reason who I have number 1 is that's one of the reasons why. He's arguably, I've never seen anything like that from, we'll get to that. But Thompson's fine. I have him lower than consensus. I knew that at 21. But like I said, anyone after, like, in the ballpark of, like, 8 down, they're kind of all going to be clumped together. So I get why you have him a lot higher, but his frame is borderline, like, terrifying to me. So I'm just like, I'm just going to let another team kind of get their hands on this kid. That's how I would play it out. And if he pans out, I'm cool taking the L on that one. But
yeah, absolutely fair. I kind of wish
if he was 180, bro, man, he'd be in my top 10 for sure.
Yeah, I kind of wish I had the consensus rankings on there. That would have been a nice little touch kind of compare, but oh well.
Next year, brother.
Yeah, next year. Hey, but throw in the comments if you watching and you like the slides and whatnot. We can keep doing something like that going forward here. So let's talk about your number 15, Deion Burks, 5'9", 3/4, 180 pounds. You see all the bench rules there. Another fast 4.340, 149, 10-yard split. 100th percentile in the vert. You want those numbers higher. The 100th. You want to be closer to 100 than you do 0. 42.5 inches at 5'9", 3/4. Really good. You see the numbers there. I have him at wide receiver 20. You have him at wide receiver 15. So sell me on Deion Burks, the redshirt senior from Oklahoma.
You don't even have that. The 5'9", 180-pound guy had the most bench presses out of any wide receiver at the combine on this little slide.
I did not. I have it in my notes.
Deion Burks, everything he did at the combine, I think it all shows on tape. He had his top end speed is insane. He had the best vertical out of any wide receiver at the combine, and he had the best reps on the best bench press out of any wide receiver, and that's with this dude's frame. I truly think this is a schemed up problem at Oklahoma. If you look at this guy's separation metrics, his ability to contest catches, his drop rate, they're all in the 90th percentile of college kids coming out this season. Every single one he's been fine. It's just that I think Oklahoma is not giving him enough opportunities. Like, he only had 31 receptions 2 years ago, 57 this year. You got to bump those up, dude. Those are rookie numbers at the end of the day. I think he is really good. He's a really polished route runner, I think. He really sells his routes. He can dip really low, and his tempo when he runs, he can change speeds at a drop of a hat, dude. Like, he's going to make people look silly in the NFL, I think. I think at the end of the day, obviously, he's a true slot receiver. I don't think he's going to be an outside guy with his frame, and I don't think he has the run blocking ability to kick it to the outside too often, but he's so dangerous after the catch with his speed, his awareness to see where players are, and he plays the sideline so well. He always knows where he is. And he's one of those guys, and this is something I really look for. He shows up in the biggest games that matter. It's very Devontae Smith-esque. Like, the bigger the stage, the more Deion Burks shows up. And I think that's huge for an NFL player. That just shows that you are poised and ready to perform when you are needed and called upon. I think Deion Burks is going to be a really good slot receiver in the NFL. I don't think it's going to be much more than that. I think he's going to be a really good number 3, maybe a number 2 option, but it's definitely a slot option at the next level. But I'm willing to die on his athleticism. Just like Thomas, if he pans out, I'll take the L. I'll take the L on Burks if he doesn't pan out, just based off his athleticism. And like I said, if Thompson was 180, he would be higher. Example, Deion Burks. He is 5'9". He's a little bit shorter, but he's 180, dude. And that's kind of where I want my receivers to be sitting at. 164 is terrifying.
Yeah, I believe that is my biggest fear with Brennan Thompson. Burks, I do worry about the injury history. I worry about the lack of production in college. Like 620 yards, that's his career high in college, and
for sure
you could point it to bad quarterback play, being at Purdue before Oklahoma, and then Mateer getting hurt last year. But I just worry that like a lot of his stuff can be underneath at times, but and no special teams play. Like a guy this fast, like why is he not fielding punts or doing kick returns? Which I think would get him more value in the NFL, and maybe that's something he does do at the next level. But
that's something that does surprise me though, because he sees the field so well. Like on his short slant games and the screen work, when he gets the ball, you can almost see where his vision is because he's so quick to hit the holes, and like any open gaps, he's already through them. That's why I'm very shocked that he's not some type of punt returner or kick returner, because he sees the field very well for a guy like this size. Like he's only 5'9". He's not seeing the whole field, but he knows where he needs to be. And with his burst, dude, he hits those holes.
Yeah. You brought up the pound for pound stuff. He could bench over 400, squats over 500.
Yeah. We
saw the bench reps at the combine. So, a little big body here, really explosive in the short area. I did like that. It just concerns me the lack of production.
I get that. Yeah, for sure.
The inexperience of special teams and the injury history. Like I think his ceiling is Marvin Mims, and that's not a knock per se. Marvin Mims is having a nice little career in Denver, but he's really a 3 to 4 wide receiver is pretty much his ceiling. Like I tried to push the Marvin Mims agenda last year to be the number 2, but he really just kind of, he can have moments where he's the number 2, but he's more he'll hit you with a big play here and there and be productive. And I do think there is the world where Deion Burks is a much better NFL player than he was a college player, but we shall see.
For sure.
Next up, my wide receiver 12, Antonio Williams, who you had at wide receiver 16. You see the measurables there: 5'11.5", 187 pounds. Ran a 4.41. Productive last year, 2024 at Stanford or at Clemson. 900 yards, 11 touchdowns, 100 yards on the ground with an additional touchdown. This past year, kind of the opposite. Only 600 yards, 4 touchdowns. But I credit that more to just Clemson just having this abysmal year, whereas like all these guys for Clemson were kind of higher projected coming out. Like Cade Klubnik, we thought would be a top 5 pick at quarterback. We thought Peter Woods was going to be the best player in this class, and he might not make it. He might not get drafted in the first round. So we shall see here. But Williams, I didn't think I was going to be really high on him initially, but I ended up just, the more I dove into him, I really liked him. I think he's a really good route runner, head fakes, manipulates defensive backs, stuff like that. He knows where to sit in zone, like really good with zone intelligence. Dabo Sweeney he said that he's no swag, all substance, which is, super reliable, low maintenance player, understands where to get leverage, adjusts mid route. He played special teams, 350 career punt return yards. So that'll kind of help him here in the NFL. I actually he had 2 career passing touchdowns, 4 for 4 passing in his college career. Durability is an issue. He doesn't have that high end speed, but it doesn't really hurt him on tape. Hands are an issue as well, but I like him. I think there's a world where he's like Jaden Reed, where he's your kind of underneath guy, can hit him deep, can kind of do a little gadget stuff here and there, just kind of where do you need to play him? He'll be there at the wide receiver position, sort of like how Green Bay does utilize Jaden Reed. But yeah, I ultimately ended up being a lot higher on Antonio Williams than I expected, the redshirt junior from Clemson. You had him at 16, sort of in the same tier as me, I imagine. But yeah, I think he's a case of the Clemson just being bad last year. I don't think it hurt his tape. It hurt his numbers.
Yeah.
But I thought his tape still paired up well with what we saw at a productive 2024.
I would say his 2024 obviously looked a little better, but like I just think he doesn't have that high end ceiling like Burks has, and that's why I had Burks on the 15 spot and Williams on the 16 spot. I just like Burks' athleticism way more, obviously, than Antonio Williams, but Antonio Williams does have, I think, a safer floor than Deion Burks does. Like I think Antonio Williams is going to be a really good number 3 to 4 option again in a wide receiver room. And like really the guys from like 20 to 14-ish, I think they're going to be like 3 to 4 options. I really don't see many of these guys so far as number 2 options until we get there. I'll probably mention when, in my opinion, when the number 2s really start coming in. But like I think Williams could be a good 3 option. Like you kind of said, I don't think he's a Jaden Reed kind of guy. But I do think he could be like a Romeo Doubs kind of guy who signed a huge contract today. So
yeah,
I think if his NFL career does pan out, he could be a really important piece to a team, but not like we need to get an Antonio Williams on the field because he's that like dynamic. But he's got reliable receiver traits, and that's what you want from a guy in your 3rd to 4th receiver spot.
Yeah. Skyler Bell. It's funny. You had Antonio Williams at 16, and I had him at 12. We're the reverse with Skyler Bell. I have him at 16. You have him at 12. UConn redshirt senior. You have 5'11", almost 6 foot tall, 192 pounds, 10-inch hands, big hands, small arms. Didn't do the wingspan at the combine, which is weird because he did arm measurements, so you can kind of get an idea of what his wingspan is. Ran a 4.47, which I thought was impressive because he doesn't look overly fast on tape.
I agree.
But you see the measurables are really productive this past year at UConn. 100 catches, almost 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns. Transferred from Wisconsin. He played a couple years there, the last 2 years at UConn. But let's talk Skyler Bell. You have 12, I have him at 16. I'll let you take the lead here.
Skyler Bell is just, I think he's just a really safe option when it comes to receiver. He's not elite necessarily in anything, but like his lower half, you see it with his vert, you see it with his 10-yard split. His broad is even still 71th percentile. He's really explosive from the lower half. He can even when he dips down, he can stop and then make cuts. His hip sync is insane. It really helps his route tree open up and really gets corners guessing. He plays with really nice time speed. Like we said, he doesn't come off fast, but he knows how to use his speed to get open. And that's more so what I'm looking at for a receiver. Like I don't really necessarily care if you're going to go out there and run a 4.2 or 4.3. At the end of the day, if you run a 4.5, but you know how to use your 4.5 speed and you can get open very, very easily because you know how to use your body better than a cornerback on the other side, that's something that I really want. And you see it with like the way Sky Bell operates after the catch. Like he's so good after the catch. He averaged like 8 or 9 yards after the catch, which is an insane stat. So I love his ability to make plays happen. And you see his production last season, 101 catches, over 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns. Like
15 targets a game.
Yeah, he was eating up the ball, dude. Like they made it like a necessity to make sure Sky Bell was the focal point of the offense for UConn. So I get why you're a little bit lower than him. He's not like elite at anything, but I really do what he like. I really like what he brings to like the table as a receiver. He's so reliable, yeah, his hands are amazing. Like 10-inch hands for a guy 5'11", huge, exactly. Like
he's got quarterback hands. He
does. He's just a really safe, reliable option in my eyes, and that's really kind of what I'm looking at here in this draft class of receivers. Like, I get there are a lot of guys that are like high ceiling guys, and I do have one of them very, very high because I think he could really pan out. But most of the guys I'm really attracted to in this class are like oh, he's got a really good floor. His ceiling might not be the best, but hey, he can get the job done. And I just something about Sky Bell I can't kick, dude. He's
Yeah.
everything I've seen.
I like Sky, but like I have him at 16, but like I have him in the same bucket as Antonio
all
Williams,
the other guys. Yeah.
and the guys I have ahead of it, they're all just kind of clustered there. He's going to be a guy you want in your wide receiving room. I think his floor is a wide receiver 4. Like he's always going to be on a team.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of gives me like he's this class's Jalen Royals, where he's just kind of a smaller school, but he's just a really good player with good burst, and knows how to use the speed he has.
Mm-hmm.
I love that he did play outside and inside at UConn. I think he's probably going to be a slot player in the NFL.
I think he's a slot guy. I agree.
But he's got no problems going out through the middle of the field and taking a hit or making a play in the middle. Really good route runner. And I noticed, I actually went back and tried to find some Wisconsin tape. I found a few games, and he had a drop issue there. And I was just like, dude, like you don't see that in UConn.
Mm-hmm.
Like he worked to better his craft at becoming a reliable pass catcher. I do worry about his production being, inflated due to the fact that
he was the offense.
He had 40 plus screens this past year.
Mm-hmm.
So, also, not overly physical. And like you said, he doesn't have really any elite traits. He doesn't really give you any yak, but again, he's a reliable piece to a wide receiver room that, like I said, I think his floor is a wide receiver 4. I think I think he has a 10 plus NFL career, 10 plus year career, but it might not be any that has 800 to 1,000 yards every season or any seasons, but he's always this kind of guy who's latching onto a roster, being in a receiver room, and steps up when someone goes down.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, I have him in the same bucket as Antonio Williams, who that's how I see Antonio Williams, as a guy that's just going to be in the NFL for a really long time. And whenever you call upon him, he's going to show up. And yeah, his career high in yards might be 700, maybe a season close to like 800-900. But like at the end of the day, he's just the guy that's going to be a plug and play wide receiver. And so far, that's the kind of range I've had all of these guys in.
Yeah. All right. Next up, redshirt senior Malachi Fields from Notre Dame. A little different. Big body, 6'4" and a half.
Bad athlete.
Yeah. 9-inch hands. Wingspan 79. Ran a 4.6 140. It's a third percentile 10-yard split. 158, also third percentile. 10 foot 4-inch broad, 21st percentile. So the lower half explosive isn't there. Transferred from Virginia, where he had 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then comes to Notre Dame and becomes a deep threat guy, putting up Alec Pierce-like yards per catch with 36 for 630 and 5 this past season at Notre Dame. We kind of have him in the same range. You do have him in your top 10. I have him at 13. I was so hit or miss with Malachi Fields. Like there were times where I was like, dude, this guy, top 7 wide receiver, I'm in. Mm-hmm. And he was getting a lot of first round buzz. I was never there. Like I think he will be I don't think he gets to the third round just because of his traits being 6'4", 218.
I think he's a second round guy, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the elite frame, catch radius, this guy, no problems making catches out there. He had an incredible catch at the Senior Bowl. But yeah, good hands. Thrives in the traffic, contested catch area, beats zone. He's really physical as a blocker. So, like, I think coaches are going to latch onto that, just see, like, the work he puts in just mauling corners, which he has the size to do in the run game. But you see it with his testing. He lacks that suddenness. He's a long strider. I noticed at times press could get to him, which is a shame. Like, you don't think of press coverage would get to a 6'4" dude. But average long speed, there is separation concerns that, like, maybe he is Keon Coleman. Like, who knows, but
I thought he was a better. I thought he separated better than Keon Coleman did, and I for one had Keon Coleman in my top 5 when he came out of his draft class.
Yeah, you loved Keon Coleman.
I did love Keon Coleman, and I've obviously been burned on that, but I still holding out a little bit of hope. Malachi Fields, though, like he's got a really good feel for zone coverage. Like he knows where to be at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
I get like on paper, oh my God, he ran a 4.6. I get that. But the way this guy runs with his strides and he can use his body leverage phenomenally, I found him
his body
winning.
control is incredible.
I found him winning a lot of separations, like the second and third level, like outrunning guys. And I get he's not fast, but he's bigger and takes bigger strides. There's a lot about this guy that I like, and I truly thought I would hate this guy. Like I was like, I'm not gonna like this guy. He's a big body receiver from Notre Dame, and he's gonna be slow. And I get he was slow, but I found him to be winning more so than not. And he's so reliable. That's what I've really come to love about Malachi Fields. Like whatever you need him to do, he's going to do it. He'll block the hell out of a guy. He'll go out and run a deep pass. He'll play up close. He'll play in the middle. He plays all three levels very well for a guy that's 6'4.5", 218. He's just the guy you want in your locker room. Like he is an amazing guy. Multiple coaches have come out and said that, hey, this guy, he's a leader among men. He knows what he's doing. He's clear cut. He's gonna get his head into the game, and he's gonna love every moment of it, even if he's not out there 100% of the time. And even on blocking plays, he tries a lot. There are a couple guys in this class that, hey, if they're not getting the ball, they've kind of checked out. Or, hey, if you got a run block, oh, I'm kind of checking out. That's not Malachi Fields. This guy is in it to win it 100% of the snaps. Yeah. And I personally love that about a guy. If you're going to show me a dog on a run block play, all right, you love football, bro. So,
yeah, there's this world where he is just a team's prototypical number 2 wide receiver. He's just out there doing cardio.
100%. Yep.
Like, he's more productive from a locker room on-field standpoint than he is on the stat sheet. And I do think that is a potential, like Van Jefferson. You like to make the joke that he's just always a team's wide receiver too, just out there running cardio. But that could be the world where Malachi Fields does just kind of end up, just because he does the grunt stuff, the dirty work. Yeah. So I do think like his ceiling is like a Michael Pittman level, where he could just get 60 to 70 catches for 700, 800 yards, 6 to 7 touchdowns a year.
I think that would be like his ultimate best, though. Like I think like, yeah. You say his ceiling was Michael Pittman? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I would agree to that. I don't think he's going to be as good as Michael Pittman.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But I do see a career that could pan out very similar to a lower end and a lower end Michael Pittman for sure.
All right. Before we get into Ted Hurst, let's shout out one of our affiliates, Finley Hats. I got a shirt. They make shirts too. They're not just hats. Finley Hats, they do weekly drops every Friday. They release new stuff. So if you're in the mood for a hat, go over there. They like I said, they do weekly drops every Friday. Ton of cool designs. They have shirts, beanies, snapbacks, dad hats. They got the little pockets on the inside. If you don't want to carry your wallet, you can stick your cash in there. They got the interchangeable ropes with the little wooden pins that you can interchange as well. So check them out over at Finley Hats. Join the force. Click the link in the description and get a nice 15% off your first purchase. Join the force over at Finley Hats. All right, Ted Hurst, Georgia State wide receiver, senior, 6'3", 206, young, 21, 9.34 hands, 32.58 inch percentile, or inch arms, 87th percentile. Another guy who didn't do the wingspan measurement. You see the other stuff there, that broad jump, 100th percentile, 11 foot 3 inches.
Crazy. That is insane.
Yeah. Really productive at Georgia State, 900 yards. 9 touchdowns in 2024. In 2025, he broke 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. Another guy, we brought up vertical ball tracking with a handful of these dudes already. He's another one who can do that. He led college football in deep targets the last 2 seasons, and he had the second highest PFF grade on deep passes. Really good, effortless ball tracker. Another contested catch demon. Like he just plays with that my ball mentality. He had a 61.1% contested catch rate, which is 90th percentile in college football. Like he uses his frame to his advantage. The numbers don't show it, but on tape he looks explosive off the line. But the 10-yard split, 40-yard dash, like you don't sort of see that explosiveness. And like, I think he's going to be a red zone guy in the NFL. Like, I love this dude. Like, it does worry me about, like, in a college football world where NIL is such a huge deal and you see these small school guys go to bigger schools. Why did he never leave Georgia State?
Mm-hmm.
So that does concern me, but the drop rate, 9% drop rate, not ideal. He does struggle at times with separation, which don't love that. And obviously, being at a smaller school, wasn't asked to run a full route tree, but he pops off tape for me. Like, he's athletic freak, he plays tough. I think he's a super raw talent with huge upside. Like, if he hits all this raw talent and potential, he's George Pickens.
Mm-hmm.
But if he doesn't, he's Javon Baker. And I loved Javon Baker. He was my wide receiver 10.
You didn't have to do that. My scars are still there from Javon Baker, bro.
Yeah. He was my wide receiver 10 the year he came out, and coherently, Ted Hurst is my wide receiver 10 this year. You have him at 14. How do you feel about Ted Hurst?
I do like Ted Hurst a lot, dude. He's in the same bucket as all the guys that I think we've talked about for the most part, and I agree. His first step is amazing, and it doesn't show in any of the stats except the broad jump. That's insane. He's got really explosive from that level, but like his 10-yard split and his vert, those are two really big things used to judge, like, oh, how quick are they? Because that's all lower body power. But on tape, dude, he's quick off the line. I think he's even quick into the second level. Third level is kind of where he loses it and loses his separation. But like you said, his separation's not great, but his contested ball catch is. And that's where I'm fine. Like, if you're not going to separate like everybody else, you got to make sure that you're going up and you're getting every ball that's thrown to you, because that's how the NFL is going to be. If you're not separating in college, you're not going to separate in the pros. But if your contested catches in college are really good, you're most likely going to transfer over because you know how to high point a ball. And he's 6'3", 206, bro. Like, he knows how to use his body, and he knows how to use it very, very well.
Yeah.
There's a lot to Ted Hurst's game I do really like, but like you said, the smaller school for 2 years, even after almost having 1,000 yards and almost 10 touchdowns, why didn't you transfer out? And I get it. You want to stick it around your senior year. Why would you leave for just your senior year? But at the end of the day, it does reflect on your draft stock. But he's a very productive at a small school, so I do like that. His route tree needs a lot of work, because like you said, he wasn't asked to do a bunch, because what he was doing in the lower end college, he was outshining guys because he is a bigger school talent. He should have been on hell, I would have loved him in Miami. He could have been in Ohio State to transfer. I get they're crowded, but you gotta move out. You gotta go to a bigger school, even if it's not one of the big schools, bigger than Georgia State at the end of the day.
Yeah, even if you went to, like, why'd Penn State not throw money at this dude? They're receiving abysmal,
exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. So like, that's just where I'm looking at it. We don't know the
ins and outs of any of that.
Yeah, Javon Baker really worried me last. Okay, I love Javon Baker. So I'm just like, can I really put a kid from a lower school in my top 10? But the way I look at it, all these kids are so far in the same bucket, and I do really like Ted Hurst at the end of the day. I really do hope he pans out, bro, because he's fun to watch. Yeah. I think he's quicker. He's a lot faster than his metrics say. He's football fast, for sure, but that's a guy that knows how to use his body at the end of the day.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like, I think there's a world where a team could take him in the second round.
I agree, but I think he's going to end up falling to the third.
I do. I think he will be a third round. I do think he will be in the top 100. I think
he's a top 100 guy.
Standpoint, he's too hard to push up. But, like, say Philly would trade A.J. Brown, Ted Hurst in the second round.
Good replacement.
Don't hate that. Next up, let's go 10 through 6. At wide receiver 10, I have the aforementioned Ted Hurst from Georgia State. Whoa. At 9, I have KC Concepcion from Texas A&M. At 8, I have Chris Brazzell II from Tennessee, who you had, I believe, at 13. Chris Bell from Louisville at 7, and at 6, I have Elijah Sarratt from Indiana, who you had at 11. And then you're 10 through 6, and then we're going to talk about Germie Bernard, who is your number. Oh, no. Malachi Fields is your number 10. I'm sorry. Notre Dame.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Up
We
next,
already
though,
talked about
it
that.
is
Germie Bernard.
Germie Bernard, Alabama wide receiver. 8, I have Chris Bell, wide receiver at Louisville. 7, KC Concepcion, Texas A&M. And then 6, Omar Cooper Jr., Indiana.
Oh, we both have an Indiana receiver at 6, just different ones.
Different
All right.
ones.
Let's talk about Germie Bernard. I had him at 11. You had him at 9. 6'1" and a fourth, 206. So real thick frame, big hands, almost 10 inches, smaller arms. He ran a 4.48, which I actually thought was a little surprising. He doesn't show on tape the speed there, but 1.52 10-yard split, that does show on tape. He was one of the few, maybe the only receiver who ran the 3-cone, 6.7 in the 3-cone drill, which is a 100th percentile number there. So really productive at Alabama. 794 yards, 2 touchdowns, was involved in the run game, had a rushing touchdown. 2025, 862 yards, 7 touchdowns, 100 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. He did come over from Washington with Kalen DeBoer. His Washington numbers not really productive as he sat behind, Roma Dunze and all those dudes. But Germie Bernard, this is where my guys who could be wide receivers
Number 2
start.
I agree. Yeah. I 100% agree. I was gonna say that. This is where my number 2s start.
Yeah. He doesn't come off fast, but I just think he's going to be a really good NFL player. I think I brought it up in our mock draft that, I think there's a world where he's Jarvis Landry, who Jarvis Landry didn't test good, but he was a damn good football player with the Dolphins, with the Browns. And I think there's a world where that's Germie Bernard ends up. I think he's going to be just a locked and loaded number 2 wide receiver. You could play him in the slot. You could play him on the outside. You could play him in the backfield. This might be the closest thing we actually have to Deebo Samuel. Everybody wants to throw that comp out for all these guys, but I think Germie Bernard has the best landing opportunity to actually be as effective as Deebo was. People want to throw that out with Leggett. I wasn't there with that, but with Bernard, I think there is a world where he could be a 200-yard rusher and a 600, 700-yard receiver. Really good after the catch, high football IQ, reliable hands, good blocker. Like I said, the long speed isn't there. Doesn't really do the contested catch stuff. Smaller arms, but I would bank on him probably having the longest career out of these guys in the same tier. Like I brought up with Skyler Bell, I think Germie Bernard could be just a 12-year guy who sticks around, is always a number 2 on whatever roster he is. And I think second round, top of the second round, there's a bunch of teams that need number 2 receivers. New York Giants, Las Vegas Raiders just need a number 1 receiver. Tennessee, they need a receiver. I think Germie Bernard is probably a top 50 pick, locked and loaded. And I think he's going to be really productive here from an NFL standpoint.
I couldn't agree more, dude. He's just really polished, and he might not do anything amazing, but he doesn't really have that many flaws in my eyes. His route running is super clean. He owns the middle of the field, slants, anything quick in the middle. This kid is going to eat up. He's got really reliable hands on third down, which I absolutely love from a receiver. He tracks the deep ball. Excuse me. He tracks the deep ball very well, which is a consistent thing among these kids that we've talked about. His transition after catching the ball is impeccable. He catches the ball and he is so quick to run. You love watching it, dude. Sideline body control, amazing. He's always getting his feet down. I absolutely love that. He gets 2 toes down too. He's always making NFL catches. His contact balance is really good. He's sneakily good, dude. I really like Germie Bernard. He didn't test great, and I get it at the end of the day, but if you just watch this kid play, you know he's an NFL receiver at the end of the day. I think he's going to be a good asset to any receiver room that scoops him up. I think he's a day 2 guy, round 2. I don't think he makes it to the third. He's good, dude. I really like Bernard.
Yeah, I brought up Jarvis Landry. Like, he's also kind of got like
I
a
dig that.
Bobby Trees to him. Robert Woods, like,
Yep.
similar style. Like, I just think he's going to be a guy who high, mid-tier wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 on a roster, just always productive. Like, like I said, we brought it up that, like, I think this is the tier where, like, the wide receiver 2s start, and I think Germie Bernard is going to be a top 50 pick, and he's going to be productive as a rookie.
We brought up like a couple like kids ago, like, oh, their career high might be 600, 700 yards, and that's all right at the end of the day. I truly think Giovanni Bernard.
Bernard, what a throwback!
Yeah, Giovanni Bernard, Germie Bernard. I think he's gonna have a couple 1,000-yard seasons under his belt. Very similar to Jarvis Landry. It's not going to be every year, but he is going to have seasons where he is really used upon as a number 2 receiver for probably a good team, man. If he's going in the second round, I expect middle of the second, to be honest, not too early. I think he lands on a good ball team I don't know. I really liked watching him. It was fun. Now here's a guy. I can't wait for TJ to talk about.
Right. Next up, Chris Brazzell II from Tennessee, redshirt junior, 6'4", 198 pounds, so a little thin for how big he is. Smaller hands, long wingspan, 100th percentile wingspan, 80 and 1/8 inch. Ran a 4.37 at 6'4", but a 1.54 split. Didn't do the broad jump. I have him at wide receiver 8. You have him at 13. Transfer from Tulane to Tennessee last season, 62 grabs, 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. The year before in Tennessee, he sat 29 grabs, 333 and 2. But that year before in Tulane, his last year there, he did have 700 yards. Every season, I tell myself, I'm not going to fall in love with a Tennessee wide receiver. And it worked last year. It worked. I didn't love Deontay Thornton. I fell off the wagon. Chris Brazzell has like the best highlight tape out of the majority of these guys we're going to talk about. Like, I think he's a bigger, taller Devonta Smith. Like, I think that's just play style. I think he's going to be a top 50 dude just based off how big he is and how fast he is and how much of a field stretcher he could be. Like, I think he's going to be a top 50 pick. I think he's going to be a wide receiver too. If he does miss, he's MVS, which MVS had spikes and had moments, but just was never consistent. But rare size, speed profile, not going to find many 6'4" dudes who run a 4.40, a sub 4.40. He ran a 4.37.
I think that's what's going to get him drafted very, very high. Yeah. Higher than I think he should get drafted, but
yeah,
I do think he goes decently early. Not like first round, maybe not even second, but I expect him to go very early in the third, if not back end of the second, just based off the 6'4", and he ran a 4.3, dude. That's insane.
Yeah. Natural hands, good body contortion, adjusts well to balls. Hey, pause. Really fluid for his size, which is kind of where I got the Devonta Smith kind of comp for. Devonta Smith is this long, leggy receiver who's really fluid and good through zone navigation. He was number 3 in this class, according to PFF. High football IQ. I just think, like, what really sold me was the fact that he was also productive at another school. And he was productive at Tennessee. Doesn't do a lot of yak. He's a catch and fall guy. Tyler Lockett would love him for that. Or in his case, he's a catch and score guy, because go watch the Georgia tape and you'll just be amazed with like the plays this dude makes. Not overly physical. He does push off a bit. He did have a handful of offensive pass interference calls as well, but and then the lean frame, being under 200 pounds at 6'4", not ideal, but I'm in. I think he's a top 50 pick. I know you'll hate it. I would love the Giants to get this guy with Malik Neighbors.
Oh, I'd hate it. I'd absolutely despise that.
Like, he could be Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU.
I would absolutely despise that. I was off topic. I want the Giants to go out and draft. Shit, I would take Malachi Fields, to be honest. I want my number 2 to be a true run blocking receiver, because I honestly don't think in hardball system we're going to use Malik Neighbors. We're going to use 2 tight ends because we'll get to it in free agent signings.
Yeah.
We're probably going to get a running back at some point because we were very in on Ken Walker. Scadaboo's coming off injury. We still have Tracy. I don't really, and I'm still burned from the Jalen Hyatt scars from 3 years ago, dude. Like that.
Completely fair. Like, yeah. It would not surprise me if Harbaugh utilizes Tyrone Tracy as the wide receiver
as
too,
a wide receiver too.
If they bring in the other running
agree.
back.
Yep. Yeah. I've been thinking about that.
Brazzell, there is a world where Chris Brazzell is Jalen Hyatt, who I also
it's not.
like coming out of school.
I don't think it's that. I think he's way more talented than Hyatt. I really didn't like Hyatt coming out. I also think he's better than last year Thompson. What's his name?
Deontay Thornton.
Deontay Thornton, yes. I think he's a better ball tracker down the field. I think he separates better. I think he has better hands. I like him more than those two kids coming out. I'm still very, very weary on a speedster, big wide receiver from Tennessee, though. That's really my outlier here. Is, am I willing to push my chips in on another one of these kids that could possibly just at the end of the day be a true system fit for Tennessee, and they just don't pan out in the NFL? Now, I will say out of the three kids we've named from the last 3 draft classes from Tennessee, Brazzell would be the best one out of all of them. I would die on that hill that he is a more talented Tillman? Wide receiver. No. Cedric Tillman was more talented than Chris Brazzell.
Okay,
Brazzell.
I like Brazzell more than I like Tillman, who I loved.
I did not. I really liked Tillman coming out. Yeah.
Like, I brought up Devonta Smith as kind of like where I see him, like, I think like a middle comp for him, like MVS as a floor, like middle ground, is Quentin Johnston. That's not a bad career to kind of just have, where Spike Weeks can be a wide receiver 1 any given week, but
look at that stretch Hughes was going on this season when Herbert and the Chargers were healthy. Quentin Johnston was a legitimate fantasy option. So that's nothing really to be like, oh, Quentin Johnston, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, that would be a fine career. And I think from a Tennessee receiver standpoint, one of them would be happy to take a Quentin Johnston type career because they have not been panning out the last couple of years from Tennessee. But he's fun. He's fun to watch. Like he's
if you want to watch a great highlight tape, just look up Chris Brazzell highlights on YouTube.
If you're looking up just highlights, you're gonna think he's the best receiver in this draft class. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Next up, Elijah Sarratt, senior wide receiver from Indiana, 6'2" and a half, 210 pounds. So good frame, big hands, 10-inch hands. Average arms, average wingspan, didn't do any of the testing at the combine. Really productive the last 2 years out of Indiana, 53 for 9, 57 and 8. Last season, 15 touchdowns for 830 yards. You have him at 11. I have him at 6. And we're going to talk about his running mate a little later, who I have in my top 5. And he was your wide receiver 6, being Omar Cooper Jr. Sarratt, man coverage. He owns it. Like, he was a man beater. 391 yards in man, 9 touchdowns. You couldn't stop this guy. Really creative route runner in man coverage. Legitimate red zone threat, 15 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns the year before that. Physical at the catch point, high football IQ, proven at every level. Like everywhere he's gone, he was at Division III, productive. Went to the Sun Belt at James Madison, productive. Went to the Big Ten, productive. Go watch Fernando Mendoza hit those over the shoulder throws to this dude. He caught almost all of them. Like, he's not a vertical burner. He's not going to be a deep threat. He does struggle with the separation, doesn't have twitch, which essentially why he didn't test at the combine. He's a catch and fall guy. Like, you're not going to see him take a ball 60 yards on a slant. That's not his game. But through this whole process, I think Sarratt is going to be just one of my guys. Like, I think his game translates to the NFL. I think he probably falls to the 3rd round, and I think at that point he is a steal. Like, he just gives me Cortland Sutton vibes, and I would love the idea of the Raiders drafting Mendoza 1, and then getting Sarratt at the top of the 3rd, and you have a wide receiver room, and you're bringing in a guy who has familiarity with your quarterback to kind of help ease both of them into that transition from college to pros. But Elijah Sarratt, I have him at 6. I looked up his consensus while we were talking, and his consensus is wide receiver 14. So we're both higher on him than consensus. I'm just a little really crazy. High on him.
I think he's way better than that. I would rather him as the Giants' number 2 receiver than Chris Brazzell that we just talked about it. I think he's a safer option. I think he's a more reliable option. He's like a little Michael Pittman in him. I think he's more Michael Pittman than you said Malachi Fields compared to. Is that who you compared to Michael Pittman?
Yeah, Pittman was my Fields ceiling.
I think Sarratt is more likely to pan out like Michael Pittman. I could see 1,000-yard season. Michael Pittman had 1,000-yard season under his belt.
There's a handful of guys in this class who are like, you're like, oh yeah, he's kind of like Michael Pittman. There's like 3 or 4 of them.
Well, I mean, he's no Mike Evans, that's for damn sure. But hey, he's a little Michael Pittman.
He's different Mike. Oh,
he's
talk about Mike Evans on Thursday.
He's a good receiver at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to. I prefer his running mate a lot more, who we'll talk about. You just do well, but you probably not a lot more, but me definitely a lot more. I think he's a really good number 3 option in the NFL. Maybe a number 2 in the right system, like the Giants or Baltimore. Maybe they could definitely use a guy like him. His body control is really good. He really knows how to adjust to balls. Yeah, everything you just kind of said, man. He sets up defensive backs with really nice, like a break. He's got like a little twitch. It's not really a twitch, but he like stops and then keeps going. It's a weird move he's got going down, but he's got it mastered, and I love that. If a receiver has their own kind of funky way to get open and they have it down to a T, I usually adore that. It's just that I don't think this guy has any really elite trait, and I don't know how much he brings to a table to like a full receiving room. At the end of the day, I think he's going to be a good addition, but I would rather take like Omar Cooper, Zachariah Branch, one of those guys. I know you were out on Branch compared to me, but I would personally take Branch over Sarratt. But I think him with Mendoza would be fun to watch for sure.
Two different players as well, so it really comes down to what you prefer in your receiver. But yeah, Elijah Sarratt, that's one of my dudes. KC Concepcion, Texas A&M junior wide receiver. It might be Concepcion, but I'm pretty sure it's Concepcion. The Concepcion. 5'11" and 5'8", a little bit taller than I thought he was. He looks smaller on tape. He almost 200 pounds. Like too. This is what you want Brennan Thompson to be.
Yeah, exactly.
9 1/4 inch hands, 74-inch wingspan. Didn't do any of the testing. Transferred over from NC State this past year. At NC State, only 460 yards, 6 touchdowns, 36 yards, 2 on the ground. But this year, Texas A&M, 919 yards, 9 touchdowns, 75 on the ground, another touchdown. Had 2 punt return touchdowns. So
love it.
12 total touchdowns here from Concepcion in 2025. You have him at 7. I have him at 9. The yak ability's there. Like after catch, he's so good. Like, he is a running back in a receiver's body. Like,
yeah,
if he was a running back, he'd be RB2 in this class, hands down. Like behind Jeremiah, like I would take Concepcion as a running back over anybody else not named Jeremiah Love. Really hard to bring down. Almost 7 yards after the catch. Good vision, good contact balance, good separation and release. He's versatile. He's a real good chess piece, toolsy player. Plays in the slot. He can line up outside, but I like him more in the slot. He's tough. He's got that speech impediment, which we talked about the mock draft episode, and he's just kind of, let that build his character. Special teams value, like I said, 17 yards per punt return last year, 2 punt return touchdowns. Like, I don't have a first round grade on him. I personally wouldn't take him in the first round, but like I do think he ends up going mid to late first. He had 9% drop rate. That's not ideal. It does worry me, but at the combine, he did really good on the gauntlet drill. He didn't drop any of them. So maybe it was just bad quarterback because Marcel Reed, not a good quarterback at Texas A&M.
I think that's a decent amount of it.
He can get lost in zone. He's not a real deep threat despite the fact that like he has the built and play style. And then obviously the frame a little bit smaller arm wise, but I think in the right scheme, he's going to be super productive. Like I think he's Khalil Shakir with more juice, and that's not a knock. Khalil Shakir's been really productive in Buffalo. If he could keep consistent improving his hands, like I think he's going to be a guy where I'm going to be wrong on, and I'm okay with that because, like, I do like the player at times. There's times where I'm like, dude, this guy, top 3 wide receiver in the class, and there's other times where he's just so frustrating. But the special teams value, the versatility that he brings, I think gets him elevated here in the draft. I think that's why pundits are so high on him, having him as a top 5 wide receiver.
You compared him to Khalil Shakir, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a better football player than Rashid Shaheed. That's who I compare him to.
Okay.
He's a better receiver,
like
a better
that.
running back, and I think Shaheed obviously has him on special teams, but Concepcion obviously 2 punt returns. He plays special teams. He's a special teams ace as well. I think this kid is going to really open up any offense he is put into. He's so dynamic. He's so quick. At any drop of a hat, he could take a ball 60, 70 yards to a touchdown. Mm-hmm. There's a lot about this kid that I love, dude. His hips are really good in breaks. He knows how to cut and when to cut. He's really good at monitoring his speed, and when he needs to like really turn it on, he can hit it. He flashes legitimate deep speed, which I love. He stacked defenders behind him. He's very dynamic after the catch, which you brought up. I think like half of his yards or more than half of his receiving yards this year came after the catch. So like he knows what he's doing with the ball in his hands. Yeah, he's pretty good at contested catches. You brought up the drops. That's a bit of a problem, but for a guy 5'11", under 200, and he could still contest a catch, he knows how to really high point a ball, which I absolutely love. He just plays physical for a guy his size and his speed. There's just a lot about this guy. I'm at wide receiver 7, and I would personally be cool with him going in the back end of the first, very early second. But I do think he ends up in the first round for sure. I think some team is going to absolutely fall in love with Concepcion and be like, hey, this is the kid we need to add to our receiving room because of how dynamic he is.
Yeah, we mocked him to the 49ers in our first mock, and I think that's a great fit. I think Kyle Shanahan would absolutely lose his mind over Concepcion, and
I agree.
I hope I am wrong. I hope he does like
Concepcion with the guy they just signed, buddy. Oh
yeah, him and Mike Evans.
Hey, no free agent talk. No free agent talk. You can't bring up
That's
names.
Something. Oh, what we know.
Oh, Big Mike, baby. It's going to be weird.
Yeah.
New number.
Before we jump into our next wide receiver, which is a guy I love, Chris Bell, let's shout out the OG affiliate of the Drafted Up podcast, and that's W Energy. W Energy, good, clean energy. No crash, no artificial flavors, no dyes, none of that stuff. Like I said, it's good, clean energy. They brought back Dragonade, which is one of their OG flavors. They have Rainbow Sherbet. It's one of their new flavors. Ton of other flavors as well. So check them out at w.gg or download the app. Just search Dubby in your Apple App Store or your Google Play Store. That's Dubby, D-U-B-B-Y. Be better. Eat that dub with Dubby Energy. Use the code DRAFTEDUP for a 10% discount. Anytime you use it, that code will work. Dubby Energy. Be better. Eat that dub. Chris Bell, wide receiver, Louisville, senior wide receiver, 6'1", almost 6'2", 222 pounds, 100 percentile weight, big thick body, 10-inch hands, almost 32-inch arms, almost 77-inch wingspan. Didn't compete at the combine due to an ACL tear back in December. 917 yards this past year at Louisville, 6 touchdowns, 72 grabs, 737 yards the year before that, 4 touchdowns. I have him at 7, you have him at 8. Really, the reason he's at 7 for me is the ACL. Like, it's a knowing injury. He's recovering from it, so essentially this is going to be a redshirt year for him. But reception, yards after the catch, play strength. He plays, look at the frame, big muscles. He uses that strength, runs the heavy routes, crosses, slants. Like, he will put you in a blender in the middle of the field. Not really the best accelerator, but like he's got that keep away speed. Like he's able to like move around and keep you off of him, but like straight line wise, like his 40 probably wouldn't have been the best, but from a horizontal standpoint, he's got that alpha in him. Like he's the 50-50 stuff. He's going to go out there. He's going to fight you. He plays physical. He attacks at the high point. He's not afraid to get contacted. Like he's a prototypical outside wide receiver, whereas a lot of these guys we've been talking about, like they're slot guys who could play outside. Like Chris Bell to me is you line him up outside, just let him do all that gross grunt work. The ACL tear, obviously a concern. Not the best route runner, can be a little stiff at times, but he's physical, he's big, and I had he not torn his ACL, he would have been an easy top 5 player for me at the wide receiver position. I think like I would take a flyer first round. I would try to trade back in, or if I'm one of those teams drafting at the end, I would take him and just because I know he makes my wide receiver room better. But second round, top of the second round, I think you're getting a steal with him. He's going to be like a top 25 player on my board if he was healthy. But yeah, I love Chris Bell. Like the ACL tear does concern me, but
I agree.
On tape, incredibly physical player. He took a huge step in improvement from 2024 to 2025. Like 2025, like he was giving me like how the Chiefs use Rashee Rice. That's how Louisville was using him, and he was super effective.
Yeah, for sure. I do like Chris Bell a lot. We both have him in a very similar ballpark. I think every aspect of this kid's game needs to be developed. I don't think he's really polished anywhere, but he is one of the few guys that I'm like, okay, I'm looking at this guy as a projection and what he could be. He's someone that I'm enamored with. Like, if this kid pans out to where he can be one of the best. I think they've used him very similar to DK Metcalf of just, hey, let's get this guy like working in the middle of the field at full speed, get him the ball, and then just let him use his almost 6'2", 222 frame that he plays huge, and he runs over people. Once he gets going, he is like a boulder. There's a lot about Chris Bell's game that I love. I think he tracks the deep ball very well for a guy his size, 222 as a deep threat. That's pretty impressive. I just think he needs to be more polished. I think that's what it comes down to. Obviously, the ACL
he's still
tear.
Super raw as a talent.
Yeah, for sure. Everything about his game needs to be worked on. But man, if Chris Bell puts it all together, if he gets stuck in a really good situation, like let's say Buffalo in the back end of the first, or some team moves up early second, and they give this kid a year to sit with the ACL injury and really just learn the system and learn how to play the receiver position, I think Chris Bell could be a really special kid coming out of this draft class.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Top 5.
Oh.
At number 5, I got Denzel Boston from Washington.
Breaks my heart.
At 4, I have Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana. At 3, I have Carnell Tate from Ohio State. At 2, I have Malachi Lemon from USC. And at 1, Jordan Tyson from Arizona State.
Okay.
All right.
I feel everyone's gonna have almost the same top 3. I feel just in some type of different variation.
They're in a tier of their own. The top 3 guys.
I agree. All right, so 5, I have Zachariah Branch, wide receiver from Georgia, who you had at like 14, I believe.
14.
4, Denzel Boston, Washington, who I have absolutely loved throughout this whole process. 3, your number 1, Jordan Tyson, wide receiver, Arizona. 2, Malachi Lemon, wide receiver, USC. And then 1, Carnell Tate, wide receiver, Ohio State University. Your number 3.
All right. So same top 3, like we said, like they're in a tier of their own. Zachariah Branch, junior from Georgia.
What's your grade,
5'8" and 5/8, 177 pounds, 9-inch hands. Small arms, 0th percentile arms, 0th percentile wingspan. 0th is a tricky word to say.
That's an insane percentile, by the way, because someone had to be in that percentile, which is Zachariah Branch, which makes it the 1 percentile. God damn it!
Yeah, a 4.35 40, which that shows on tape, and 1.52. I actually thought his 10-yard split would be a little bit better, considering how he's got a good burst. 38-inch vertical, 62. So a nice vert for a guy his size. 10-foot broad, 10.5-inch broad. I'm at 14. It transferred from USC, 503 yards at USC this year. His most productive year, 81 for 8, 11 and 6. I do like bits and pieces of Zachariah Branch's game. His start-stop ability is really good. He's really good in the open field. he does give you special teams prowess. He can do punt returns, kick returns, and he does play physical for his size. I just don't like his usage, and maybe it's a Georgia thing, maybe it was a USC thing, but that's two schools that's sort of used in the same, which worries me that this guy is the majority of his yards and his catches are behind the line of scrimmage, and
for sure,
like I am lower. Zachariah Branch is going like consensus wide receiver 7. I am at 14. Like, to me, his ceiling is Wan'Dale Robinson with a little bit better speed, but Wan'Dale tested good. He just, on the field, he's just not shifty. But, like, I've seen people say he's Tyreek Hill, but a little smaller, or he's Zay Flowers, but a little faster.
See that. That's what I see. I see Zay Flowers when I see him play football. But
I think his speed, his shiftiness, his return ability, like, I do think that ultimately does get him drafted in the top 50. I'm just not there. Like, I just worry that everything, like, his yards per route run's like 2, which has only 3 players, like, entering the draft have really hit that, and it's Tyreek Hill, and it's Malachi Corley. And Malachi Corley, I also didn't like.
Complete ends of the spectrum. I was very in on Malachi Corley. I will eat that L on public television, by the way. I don't know. There's something I just can't quit Zachariah Branch, bro. Like, at the end of the day, his speed, which we knew, if you just seen him play, you knew it. And I think like 80% of his receiving yards come from after the catch. He is a slot, screen kind of guy, backfield. But the way he runs, you brought up someone being like a running back. It might have been, it wasn't Concepcion. Was it Concepcion? Okay. Yeah. I think Zachariah Branch, the way he runs is like a running back. He finds holes and he just goes through it. And for a guy 5'8", 177, he is breaking arm tackles. He's running through guys, and his legs do not miss a beat. He plays way bigger than 5'8".
20 bench reps.
For sure. But, I mean, his arms are really tiny, brother. That's a less movement because of his tiny little T-Rex arms. He does attack leverage with the way he's so quick to break in and out of routes. He leaves guys in the dust. His stutter step is insane. And I get it is a two school thing where they're using him very similar at USC and Georgia. But, man, I'll take 81 for 811 and 6 touchdowns at Georgia. That's a great season. And he's heavily used. And I get the way they're using him is not ideal, and it's probably not going to translate completely to the NFL. But I think he has more upside in the NFL than he's been given credit for the last couple seasons in college. I do see Zay Flowers when I see him play football. I think he can get deep. I think he can hit the second level, the third level, be very used around the line of scrimmage. And as just a runner, he sees the football field very well. He's used in special teams. There's just something about Branch that I cannot quit, dude. And I get I have him higher than most people, but I would be willing to take a shot on Branch. I think he's going to pan out very, very well in the NFL.
And he could be a guy where it was just poorly schemed and hurt his development, and he gets to the NFL and, the right coordinator does stretch the field with him. Because at the times that they do take shots for him, he is a good ball tracker, and he has good hands. So his ability is there. I just worry the fact that, why aren't they letting him do that? Why are they just everything's manufactured behind the line of scrimmage? That does worry me that he can't do the other stuff consistently. But I do think he's going to be a top 50 guy. I think he's going to be, at worst in his career, a really good special teams Pro Bowler, All-Pro type return guy. But I do worry about what sort of upside he brings in the actual passing game.
Yeah, no, I do get that concern, and if I'm ended up being burnt on Branch and Malachi Corley in back-to-back seasons, dude, that type of receiver is going to be on my list. I can tell you that much.
I got Ted Hurst and Javon Baker, and anybody from Tennessee. Next up, Indiana wide receiver Omar Cooper Jr., redshirt junior. at the Hoosiers, the national champion Indiana Hoosiers. 6 foot, almost 200 pounds. Ran a 4.4 240, which I liked. I didn't think he would run that quick. I thought he'd be more of a closer to a 4.5. Not the best 10-yard split, 37-inch vertical, didn't do the broad. Last year, 937 yards on 69 grabs, 13 touchdowns compared to, Sarratt with his 15. So all the production for Mendoza was coming from these two cats. 74 yards on the ground, another touchdown, rushing touchdown both years at Indiana, almost 600 yards a year before that, 7 touchdowns. So the ability to score is there for Omar Cooper Jr. And I just think this cat's good. I have a first-round grade on him. Like, first-round grade, really good in zone coverage. PFF had him ranked at number 2 against zone, only behind Jeremiah Smith, who is the phenom going into 2027 at wide receiver. Good yak, good contact balance. There was a play against Illinois where he kind of got hit and it looked like his ACL obliterated. He kept balance. I actually think it's the picture that I used. And then he just took it to the house and he had an incredible catch against Penn State to win the game in the end zone. Plays physical, team first player, good ball tracking, good body control, real good twitchy, good route runner. He's not afraid of getting hit in the middle of the field, finding that zone. He'll take on a linebacker. I just think the NFL is going to love this dude. I think he's going I think there's a world that he could be a top 15 pick and get picked over Jordan Tyson if teams don't like the medicals, get picked over Denzel Boston because he's a bigger and they're not looking for that type of receiver. I think there is a chance he is the third receiver off the board. I'm content with that. I wouldn't bat an eye if a team valued the skill set Omar Cooper Jr. brings to the table. But smaller catch radius with the shorter arms, inconsistent versus man. And then how productive, this was his first big year. The 7 touchdowns was nice in 2024, but didn't even break 600 yards this year. Really the big productive year for Omar Cooper. But yeah, I think he could be if the Chiefs are worried about Rashee Rice, maybe they take a shot on Omar Cooper because I think he could do similar things that Rashee Rice does in Kansas City.
Yeah, I personally don't see a world where he goes over Denzel Boston. I think Denzel Boston could go over Tyson if medicals, because they play very not similar. I think Denzel Boston's a better red zone threat, to be honest. But Omar Cooper he's out. He does everything amazing. What you want out of a wide receiver is what you're going to get. Outstanding ball control. He catches the ball away from his body, which you absolutely love. He's very quick to make adjustments, natural feet, finding really good spots in the zone. He runs hard after the catch, which you absolutely love. He's dangerous with the ball in space, on screens, on crossers. There's just Omar Cooper is just a naturally rounded, gifted wide receiver at the end of the day, and I think he's going to be a really good addition to a wide receiver room. I think he's going to be a really good number 2. I think there's a chance. I don't think he's a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL, but if a team needs him to be their number 1 option, I think he could slide in. I think he's a really good number 2, but if the number 1 would go down, he could fill in very nicely for the time being until that guy comes back. It's very T. Higgins-like. I think T. Higgins was a better prospect coming out of college, but if Jamar Chase goes down, T. Higgins could easily slide in and be the number 1 for the Bengals for 2-3 weeks here and there. I think Cooper
Jordan
has
Addison
that ability
with Justin Jefferson. I think that's more of a skill set that would translate for Omar
similar. Cooper. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Cooper's going to be a really good pro. I don't know. I want to say he goes round 1, but I think Concepcion's going to get drafted. I think Concepcion's going to get drafted before him. I hope so. I just think other teams are going to like different receivers more than him. That's how I personally see it.
He's a very Rams-like receiver, and the Rams could take him at 13. That's plausible. I think he'd be great in a McVay offense. My dream scenario is Vegas takes Mendoza 1, takes Cooper at 14 with the pick they got for Max Crosby from Baltimore, get a tackle or a defensive edge rusher with their top of the second round and then draft Sarratt in the third, and you're just giving Mendoza's two guys from college with Jalen Naylor and Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty, and that's the makings of a nice little offense. But I don't know if Vegas will value a wide receiver at 14, whereas I think they should focus defense there. But yeah, I think Omar Cooper is going to be very valuable wherever he goes. I think he's going to be very productive, very involved in the offense.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
All right, Denzel Boston, the redshirt junior from Washington, your wide receiver 4, my wide receiver 5. Almost 6'4", 212 pounds, almost 10-inch hands, long arms, 77 3/8, 35-inch vert, which is surprising considering how big he is, but productive last 2 years at Washington, over 800 yards the last 2 years, 9 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns. He had a punt return touchdown this past year, so he scores with ease. Like, he is a threat to score anytime. Size to catch radius, it's there. Prototypical frame, long arms, big hands. Contested catch, he dominates that. Like, it's not a 50-50 ball for Denzel Boston. It's a 70-30 ball for him. Like I said, scores a ton. Good ball tracker, which he needed this past year because their quarterback was just throwing obscene passes that were so bad, and Boston was tracking it. And reliable, only 5 drops, so solid hands. Not the best separator, not a big yak guy. A later breakout profile, but that doesn't really concern me. When I initially watched Boston, I didn't see the hype, and maybe that was just because he's been your guy throughout this whole process. But as I continued to watch him, he continued to grow on me, and initially I was worried that he was just the next Keon Coleman, but I think he's a better separator than Coleman was. I think he's a better red zone threat. I think he's a better route runner. Like, he's a really good route runner for a 6'4".
He is a really good route runner for a guy his size, for sure.
Like, I think my initial watch was just because of how bad his quarterback was. And at the end of the day, as I'm watching him, I'm just like, this dude is Marquise Colston.
That's a throwback for probably the younger listeners, for sure, Saints wide receiver, but he, in my eyes, is the best red zone threat in this draft. He is by far, he's 20 touchdowns the last 2 seasons. He's also, in my opinion, the best run blocker out of all of the higher end wide receivers. I love Denzel Boston. I truly have him in the tier with Tyson, Lemon, and Tate. I think he's right there with those 3 guys. There's nothing he doesn't he's 6'4", he's a true X wide receiver. Like, he runs well, he catches well, he adjusts body well, he tracks the deep ball better than almost anyone in this draft class. His hands are absolutely ridiculous. He does not drop balls. He's super crafty after the catch. He's used a little bit in the special team games. He runs angry, dude. He runs on a mission. He runs looking to run people over. He's looking for contact every single play. I adore Denzel Boston. I would absolutely eat him up as a Giant. I don't think that's going to be an option because
the Bucks could have drafted him.
Well, they do need a replacement. If the Giants would trade into the first, I would adore that, but I think this guy goes in the top 15, at least top 20. I think Denzel Boston is a very early pick in the NFL draft.
After 20 to 32. Okay. I do think he's going to be a first-round pick. I was actually looking at a mock the other day, and it had you guys taking him in the second round. And I'm like, Nick's, it was Sonny Styles in the first, Denzel Boston in the second. I'm like,
I would cry.
Nick the moon with that.
I would cry. We're walking out with 2 Nick guys in the top 15, bro. What is this, last season? Whew. Yeah. I would adore it.
Denzel Boston. I think you get him with like a legitimate quarterback. And you're looking at dude. a 1,000-yard double-digit touchdown dude almost every year. All right, let's talk about these top 3 dudes. We'll start with Malachi Lemon because we both have him at 2. 5'11", 192, small hands, small wingspan, small arms, which you're going to get from a 5'11 dude. 764 yards, 3 touchdowns, a ton of kick return yards in 2024. 2025, he took that bump. Won the Biletnikoff Best Receiver in College Football. That's what that award's given for. 79 grabs, almost 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. Did kick returns and punt returns. He is a route running savant. To me, he's the best route runner in the class. I don't think anyone's close to him. in terms of a route runner. Understands how to use his eyes and body to, freeze and trip up defensive backs. Good ball skills despite his size. Like I thought he high point jump balls did really well with that. From a smaller standpoint, he's incredibly competitive, really efficient after the catch. Like he's football fast. Like he didn't do the testing at the combine because I think he would have ran a 4.5 I don't think he would have tested well, but he's got football speed. He's a chain mover. Like the fun comp, everybody's just like, yeah, he could be Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's a high comp. Like that is Amon-Ra, one of the best receivers in football. And I'm sure that might be Malachi Lemon ceiling. To me, he's a shorter Keenan Allen. Like I think just how he plays running routes, like Keenan Allen, one of the best route runners in the game. I think that's sort of where I see Malachi Lemon, just a little bit shorter. So like I do think he can be a team's wide receiver 1, but I'm more comfortable as like a high end wide receiver 2. Tough, great route runner, can play outside. Like he's going to be top 10 on my big board. Sure, he had some focus drops and the size is an issue, and doesn't have that top end speed. But I just think you're getting a really good football player, and I think he's going to fall because of the weird combine stuff that came out about him being like really weird in interviews. But he kind of has this delusional demeanor to him, which I want in my wide receivers. I want my wide receivers to be a little bit crazy. So I don't think he falls past the Jets at 16, and if he goes to the Jets, him with Garrett Wilson, that's a match made in heaven. Malachi Lemon has bounced back and forth between my wide receiver 1 and my wide receiver 2 for a while now, and I ultimately fell on him as my wide receiver 2 just because of how much I love Jordan Tyson's tape, and we'll get to him then.
No, I get it. If Lemon was the same height, 6'2", as Tate and Tyson, he would be my number 1 receiver with ease. It wouldn't even be close. Yep. I think Lemon does stuff better than both of those guys do. Unfortunately, he's 5'11", 190. That's the only problem. I don't think there's a thing on the football field.
If he was 6'2", he'd be Keenan Allen.
That's what I mean. I don't think there's a thing on the football field that this guy can't do. He is so good at football. Everything you said is 100% true. I'm not going to go on about Malachi Lemon, but he's so polished. He's so gifted. He is NFL fast. I don't care what his 40 time was. CeeDee Lamb ran a 4.5. So if Malachi,
he's football fast.
Exactly. If Lemon was out there running the 4.5, I would not care. It would not change his draft stock one bit. I watched him play. He plays football. He's an NFL football. I think he's gone before 16. I really don't think the interview things at the combine really necessarily matter too much. It only takes one team, and I think that team's going to be close to the top 10. I guess he could fall to 16 to the Jets. I just don't personally see that happen. I think him and Tate are both off the board by 16. Tyson might fall because of injury concerns. Boston might fall because he's just a bigger X receiver, and he's not as dynamic as Tate and Lemon.
It really depends on when the first receiver goes. Like
100%,
if the first receiver makes it to 10, or makes it past 10, because the Bengals aren't going to take a receiver. They shouldn't. Yeah. And then, like, where's the first receiver go? Is it the Rams at 13? Then I think there's a world where Lemon does make it to 16 to the Jets.
For sure.
But if you guys take a receiver at 5, I don't think Lemon or whoever the second receiver is makes it out of the top 10. I think there's a world then where, like, New Orleans takes a Lemon to pair with Olave.
I think there's a chance one of these guys goes 4 to Tennessee, and that's even with Wan'Dale signing there. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, well, I think Tennessee could easily draft Malachi Lemon or Carnell Tate because of what they need. They need to go out there and they need to give Cam Ward the best opportunity to succeed, and that's not going to be without weapons. You got to go stack that guy up, and I think Tate or Lemon would be a great fixture with Wan'Dale. Yeah.
Let's move on to Carnell Tate, junior wide receiver out of Ohio State, 6'2", almost 195 pounds, give or take. Yeah, big hands, 10 and a fourth, 31 and 3/4 inch arms, 78-inch wingspan, which is 85th percentile. Did run a 4.53, which 21st percentile. He is faster than a 4.53.
Don't care. He is 100% faster than that. Exactly.
The 1.52, I even think his get off is better than that, but productive, 875 yards and 9 touchdowns this past year, and that was only in 11 games, 733 yards and 4 touchdowns the year before that. Another good route runner, like him and Lemon, to me, they're the best 2 route runners in this class. Ball tracking, we've brought it up. high point guy, 6'3". He uses his frame to his advantage. He's physical. He'll do the run blocking. Really smart football player. He averaged 37 yards per touchdown last year, which insane stat. He's not the burner. Like you see that in this so-called 4.53. A little bit slender at 6'3", but it doesn't bother me too much. Like I actually think he could put more weight on because that speed and the after catch ability, that's not part of his game, so he can bulk up a little bit. And then there's this negative stigma that he is a wide receiver 2. He's never been the wide receiver 1 on his team. And like ultimately I do think he ends up as a wide receiver 2 in the NFL. Like to me, he's Calvin Ridley. I think that's the role he's in. He could be a wide receiver 1, but like he's going to be I'm talking old Calvin Ridley when he was with Atlanta, not current Calvin Ridley, who's not very good. But elite style Calvin, like he's a high-end wide receiver 2 in the NFL who could be a wide receiver 1 depending on scheme and team. But he's a fringe top 10 player for me. I think he's going to fall probably in the 11 to 15 range on my big board, even at wide receiver 3. But I completely understand having him at wide receiver 1. He's polished. He's really good, and he's going to be a good NFL player.
I agree. Everything I've said about Lemon is that there's not a thing Tate can't do, but he's 6'2" and 192. He is an NFL built body, unlike Lemon. Lemon's obviously a fine size, but he's not on. At the end of the day, Tate could be a number 1 receiver. I don't know if he's going to be a true number 1 receiver, but like you said, he could fill in. He plays very similar to Emeka Egbuka, who came out last year from Ohio State. He is just a well-rounded, gifted wide receiver with an amazing route tree, amazing hands, and at the end of the day, he's coming from Ohio State, who has put out the most consistent wide receivers that are NFL ready from day one for the last 5 years. You got JSN, you got Marv, who hasn't hit his ceiling yet. You got Emeka Egbuka. You got all of these kids coming into the NFL, and they're out here shining. I think Tate is just
Brian
the next.
Hartline knows what he's doing with wide receivers.
100%. He is the best wide receiver coach in college football.
Won't
maybe
be there
even
for Jeremiah
football.
Smith. Jeremiah Smith gets Arthur Smith this year, so
Ooh,
it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic
lucky Jeremiah
works.
Smith, but that again, that's not going to affect Smith's draft stock. I don't think, to be honest. Tate just adds to the line of amazing wide receiver prospects coming out from Ohio State, and I think he's going to be another one that hits. I really like Carnell Tate. I would personally be cool with the Giants drafting him at 5. I think there's a chance he's gone before that at 4, the Tennessee. I think he's personally my number 1 receiver in this draft class. Like I said, there's not a route he can't run. There's not a ball in the field he can't try to contest the catch. And his hands are huge, dude. He's such a safe option when it comes down to like a receiver's or a quarterback's best friend, a safety blanket. Carnell Tate would be a gift to any quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. I've seen people compare Tate to George Pickens. I don't see that.
I do not see that.
But I think skill set wise, it's a little bit there. But yeah, I think there's a world like you could make the counterpoint like, oh, Tate's only being elevated up the board because he's Ohio State wide receiver. You put Tate in a different uniform, the tape's still going to be good, and I do think he ends up. I do think he will be the first receiver drafted. I think
Tate?
He's the one with the least amount of red flags of the big 3 here. And let's move into Jordan Tyson, Arizona State, redshirt junior, 6'2", 203, 9 1/8 inch hands, 75 1/4 wingspan. Didn't do any of the combine stuff because of a hamstring injury, which lingered from last year. I have him at 1. You have him at 3. 1,000 yards in 2024, 10 touchdowns this past season, only 9 games. He had 711 yards, 8 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Transfer from Colorado in 2023. Good route runner, good ball tracker. Like he's really natural. He plays bigger than his size. Like I think he's really good in contested catch situations. Hines Ward was his wide receiver coach. You brought up Boston being the best run blocker. I think it's Jordan Tyson. Like Hines Ward, he's done this no block, no rock. So like you got to block if you're going to get the ball at Arizona State, and I think it shows on tape. Like he had nearly 300 run blocking snaps in 9 games last year. So I think coaches are going to love that. You could play him anywhere. He could play in the slot. He could play outside. The the medical history is obviously a concern.
Mhm.
A season-ending knee injury a few years ago, ACL, PCL, MCL, collarbone issue. He's had this hamstring issue from this past season. That's the reason why he didn't compete at the combine. And from what I've looked up and what I've read, his medicals came back clean at the combine. So I think the adjustment to him falling in mocks and rankings right now is the fact that, like, we didn't see him compete, so, and it's justified to drop him down your board, drop him down your rankings, but if his medicals are clean, I think he is the clear-cut best receiver in this class. And I've been on Jordan Tyson since the summer, and at the end of the day, that's why I ended up falling back to him as my number one. The tape is just too good for me to turn down. Like, he is Chris Olave through and through, and I loved Chris Olave coming out of Ohio State. And I think Jordan Tyson, if he does fall because teams are a little worried about the medicals, I think it's going to be a situation where teams are going to look back and be like, why didn't we draft this dude?
Yeah, dude, he is really good, dude. He gets open. It's as simple as that. His route running is insane. His contested ball catch is amazing. He tracks the ball. He tracks the deep ball like an outfielder. He's extremely flexible for a guy 6'2", 203. Like, and he's got that dog, dude. Like, he plays hard. He wants the ball when it matters. If it's a fourth quarter last drive, he's going to fight the quarterback, and he wants the ball. And that's the kind of mentality you want your receiver to have at the end of the day. Just the medical stuff is the only thing that scares me, dude. And
it's completely reasonable. And
that's really only what it comes down to. Like, I would have Jordan Tyson on the same exact level as Lemon and Tate talent-wise. Yeah. It's just that
Tate and Lemon don't have the medical issues that Jordan Tyson, and it's every year. But my counterpoint is Keenan Allen. I keep bringing him up. 100%. We labeled him as this wide receiver who was injury prone, and he was injured like his first 3 years. And then he was just healthy, and he was just really good throughout the rest of his career. I think that's kind of where Jordan Tyson's range is going to go, where he was just injury prone in college. Like, you can't argue that the injuries hurt his production, because they didn't. So I agree. I would still take him first receiver off the board if I was manning a franchise. I'm not overly concerned about the medicals, but obviously I don't have any of that information. Like, if a team has way more of that available to them. There you go. Those are our top 15 wide receivers. For those watching, you could see them on the screen. We're not going to recap them for you, but you could see our top 15 guys there, mine and Nick's, on the board. I ultimately ended up with 4 first-round grades on mine with Cooper, Tate, Lemon, and Tyson. Denzel Boston, I had a high second-round grade, but I think he will be a first-round talent come draft day just because of this class. So we kind of see the group similar, same tiers. Like, really the only one that we're kind of, like, really far apart on was Zachariah Branch and maybe Chris Brazzell. But otherwise, like, we do see this class very similar. I think this is a better class than I expected it to be coming in to this.
Yeah, I agree. I was not really thrilled with the receiver class. I'm like, oh, it's going to be in. But no, it turned out really well, even after 15. I think you go up to like 20, 23 guys, and I'm like, hey, they could be a really good number 3, number 4 option. I also had the 4 first-round grades, but mine was Denzel Boston instead of Omar Cooper, and then Tyson, Lemon, and Tate, obviously. But I think more than that go. I think there's a chance 5, 6 receivers go first round, early second, like very early second round. So we'll see how soon they start flying off, but it really comes down to when the first one goes. If it's Tennessee at 4, or if it's the Giants at 5, New Orleans at 8, whatever team pulls a trigger on a receiver, that's when the run's going to start to go, because there's a couple guys worth going in the first round. I think a lot of teams are going to see, like,
I think those teams
Concepcion to possibly go. Yeah, the top of the second round are going to
end up with a good player.
I agree. I truly agree that. So,
all right, throw in the comments like your rankings. Like, you don't have to give us your top 15, but if you have a top 10, I'd love to hear what you guys in the comments think about this class. If you agree or disagree with some of the stuff we're throwing at the table there, specifically like the guys we didn't see eye to eye on, Zachariah Branch, Chris Brazzell. So I'd love to hear that. So for Nick, I'm Theo. This is the Drafted Up Podcast. We'll be back later this week. We'll talk free agency. We'll talk all the trades, all that good stuff, how that changes the landscape going forward here as the NFL season is near. as it never ends. It's a 24-hour 24/7 cycle.
It's New Season Eve,
Subscribe.
technically.
Yeah, it technically is.
Tomorrow's new season.
Legal tampering. What a bad name. Legal tampering. Like, they got to come up with a better name for that. The pre-negotiation cycle. That's what it should be called. That's Nick. I'm Theo. This is the Drafted Up Podcast. If you haven't already, like, rate, subscribe, review, all that good stuff. We appreciate you guys. We'll catch you guys later this week. Adios.
Bye.